Hi, Chris. It's lovely to see you. Thanks so much for joining us on New Hope Calling today. How are you going?
I'm good, Katrina. I'm going well. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. So
Good.
it's lovely to see your face on my screen. We just wanted to have a chat to you today because obviously you play a really important role in the community. So tell us a little bit about who you are.
Yeah, certainly. So look, for those who don't know me, I'm Chris Myers and I'm Chair of Church Council. So amongst some other things I do, that's a role that I hold and treasure that and take a great sense of responsibility in representing the members.
So COVID has obviously been transforming all of our lives in different ways, including the church and including everything that the church does. And I'm sure that this is impacting the church council. So tell us what it's meant for you and the council.
Well, firstly, I think on a couple of levels, like everyone else in this COVID world, practically, it's meant a whole bunch of things in terms of changing the way that we would normally go about doing business, the face-to-face aspect of what we do. And we've had to, like everyone, step into a virtual world and doing meetings by Zoom. And in so doing, we've also had to, change the way that we take the time together and really treasure it, prioritize it, and because there are some things you can do in a room sitting around a table with all of the communication, verbal and non-verbal, that you don't get in a Zoom call. And so it's caused us to be a little bit more purposeful with the times that we meet and, really focus on the things that are important. So that's the first thing. Secondly, as the church is going through this challenging time, it's caused us to have to lean into some issues and, primarily is care and support and, working with the New Hope leadership team on strategy and working our way through this and just being there to support the team and guide and lead and just be there to listen when we need it. And so that's probably the two main things.
What are some of the things that you've been learning about the capacity and resilience of the New Hope community in this moment?
I would have entered into this, if you had have asked me, I would have said I didn't doubt the capacity and resilience, but, to see it on show is fantastic. I think as I look through multiple levels of the organisation of the church, the way in which people have been able to adapt, the creative flair that comes out, the willingness to have a go, and also the willingness to understand, okay, well, we didn't get that quite right, so humbly let's take another step. And so that's pleasing. The sense of community that exists. I had a really great morning on the first morning of our virtual church when I looked at that counter just ticking up and saw so many people online and engaged. And yeah, it just filled me with a warmth that was, just really, really great. But there's some areas that have been doing it tough as well. And we've got some parts of our church, the cafe, areas like that. So just trying to help through as we can to support them. Medical centre who've just, had to change so much of what they do. So there's a lot of areas, but all throughout, a sense of community, a sense of love, a sense of care for each other, and a sense of care for the wider community in which we're placed by God. I've just been greatly impressed at all levels.
So what would you and the council like to invite us as New Hopers into in this season, either to do or to be or to pray for?
My first comment would be, Katrina, that whilst COVID is putting up a number of challenges uniquely, and there's a whole bunch of things we could talk about. At the same time, life is going on, and the same challenges that are being amplified now have always existed. And so I come back to the basics, from God seeking to see the world through His eyes. There are so many needy people, and they haven't just been there in the last 3 months. To be in community with the challenges of our separation, but really to be seeing and understanding and empathizing and calling out to God for them. I was just chatting to my parents today and talking about the challenges in our older generation. They, at their small group, talking about the challenges of the children of my age groups, the kids going through VCE and so forth. And that fills me with great hope that as long as we as a community can keep looking out for each other, bathing each other in prayer, I think we're on the right track.
I just wondered, Chris, how would you characterise the leadership challenge for the council at this moment in time?
Look, I think there's a couple of fronts. From a leadership perspective, learning how to lead through this time is around, and you've actually reflected some words that, to me previously around what do we need to hold lightly, and what do we need to be focusing on. I think that's one of the challenges. The other aspect too, and we've seen this, the church will have seen this come through in some of the teaching that we've done, is that we sit with a great opportunity through this time to not just return to what we were doing as our aspiration, but to actually create that new normal, whatever language you want to put around that. So for us, it's around working with the leadership team as to what does that look like? How do we get there? To not be too reactive, but also to use the opportunities that we have. That's the fine balance, and that's where I'm calling out to God in to provide that wisdom and that counsel to help us walk through that journey together.
One of the challenges for all this in this moment is connecting, and there are lots of people engaged as members and supporters and friends of New Hope. What can us as a community expect in terms of how we can engage together into the future with the council?
We set in play a few things before COVID came along in terms of our aspiration of how we wanted to be out there, visiting small groups and so forth. And so clearly best laid plans of men have not come through there. What I would say though is using the resources that are on the website and so forth in terms of connecting with each other, offering help, and most importantly, and there's probably a number up here or a number up here, there'll be there's that prayer hotline. I would just encourage everyone to be active in that and to reach out. In terms of council's involvement with members, there's some things that we would have had in our agenda at this point. An AGM would have been held in the last couple of months. We've had to put some of that off just through the practicalities of not being able to meet. We are working on how we can do that better, how we can actually bring that stuff forward. But, we are here. Our numbers are published. You can get in touch with myself. If there is stuff that you want to engage with us, please reach out. We're at the end of the phone. We're at the end of the end of an email, and we're always open and willing to have a chat and to seek feedback.
Thanks very much for your time, Chris.
You're welcome.